Good morning, students. So, we'll come up to the main topic now onwards, that is software development life cycle. We also call it as software life cycle models, or we call it as software development models. So, these are the interchangeable names. So, we can, what does it actually these represent? It represents the life cycle of a software, or the activities which are being carried out during his entire lifespan, from initiation to the retirement. So what does it mean, life cycle? As soon as initiation happens, initiation means when the problem is incepted, a customer gives us the problem. From that point, throughout the development, operation, maintenance, and then retirement of the software. So this entire process is called as software life cycle. That is the phases of life which a software has to undergo as and when the problem comes in, till the software gets obsolete or retired. So we will be talking about these phases now in detail. Commonly we call it as software development life cycle, and that is represented with the help of a model or a framework. Right? We'll see the significance also why we are dividing it into phases. Let's compare it with an analogy. Say a BTech program. A BTech program is divided into 8 semesters. Further, these 8 semesters are divided into 4, or you can say 4 years. 4 years they are divided into 8 semesters. Then further, these 8 semesters, in individual semester we have midterms. That means we are dividing it. We have a large and a complex problem, that is a BTech degree program, which is a 4-year program, right? Then we divided that 4 years into smaller programs, that is 8 semesters of 6 months each, right? Then further, these are divided into more smaller parts, that is in a semester you will be having a midterm. Say if a semester is of 6 months, so after 3 months you will be having a midterm exam, and then after 3 months you will be having your end term exam. And that too, prior to the midterms, normally, like you can say, a class test is conducted intermittently, say after each unit. Why we are dividing that large problem, that is a 4-year degree program, into 8 semesters, further into midterms and end term in each semester, and then to class test, a sort of evaluation which is done after each say unit. Why we are doing so? Why not that all the subjects in the labs, for example, if I assume that you have almost you have to cover how many subjects in your BTech degree? Roughly say 5 subjects, then you have 5 as a 25. Like roughly if I say you have 200 subjects, or say 400 subjects altogether along with the labs, and you have to cover it. So this is your major task that you have to clear, say 500 subjects. Take a optimum number including labs in your 4-degree dual program. So what is required if you are supposed to clear all these 500 subjects, theory as well as practical, at one go, like in BA or other courses, that you are supposed to give the exam at the end clearing all the subjects, while compare it with this technical subject, that is a BTech technical course, where we have divided into staggered steps, and you have to clear that's if 5 subject in one semester plus 3 labs, optimum is 10, say you have to clear 10 subjects. That too, you have midterm for the first 3 units, then you have end term which covers the entire syllabus. So what is the difference between these two approach? say if you are going for all the subjects at the end, right, the entire complex problem need to be solved altogether at one go. So what will happen in that case? We are not going to study it properly. Very first thing, I know that my exam is after 4 years. So why will I study in the first year, second year, or third year? I'll be in a relaxed mode. What I'll do when the fourth year will come, then I'll start thinking of it. Okay, I shall study now. Study prior to study, I need to know the syllabus. I need to collect the content, study material, and all. And prior to 2 months, I'll start quickly just going through it once and give my exam. So, what about the outcome of that? Will it be good as per the expectation? Will it be a quality result? And if I am able to score, do I have any knowledge? Do I have the practical knowledge also? Theoretical though another thing. Do I have the practical knowledge? No. That will be just a formality to get a degree just by giving the exams. That's it. You'll get the degree, but you will not score much, neither you will have any knowledge. But in case of BTech, what we are doing is we have divided into smaller stages where you have to clear few papers in a semester. That too in the single subject, you have to clear first 2.5 unit almost till midterms. Clear it. That means you have studied for that 2 months. You gave your exam. Then after midterm, you studied rest of the syllabus and you give the exam. So at least better than the previous approach, I must have studied from the initial step, not at the end, that is fourth year. I'll be starting from the very first semester because I have a sort of exams which are being conducted which is forcing me to study. Okay, that is a sort of a review which is being carried out after a specified interval of time. That is why I'm studying it and I'm giving the exams. I'm doing it practically, so better knowledge will be there, right? So this is what is software development life cycle. We won't be developing the complete software at one go altogether. What we'll do is we'll divide the entire task of software development into smaller tasks or phases. And in that phases, we will be carrying out that smaller task or subtask. And then a review is carried out after each phase like exams, so that whatever work is assigned that is being completed, it is completed correctly and it is completed within the given constraints of time and cost. This is the reason why we carry out a review. Why we carry out an exam? Just to check whether you have gone through the syllabus for that particular exam. You have learned it properly. It may be say MCQ questions, that to check like deep you have done it properly thoroughly, right? It can be analysis question, it can be numerical question, just to check the all sort of capabilities and the skills that you have learned. Similarly, this is what software has, this steps the software has to undergo along with the review process is actually we are going to study here. So roughly I assume you get an idea why we are developing a software using SDLC, why a life cycle is required and why a model is required. We'll see it now. Okay, so what is a life cycle? Series of identifiable stages that a software product undergoes during its lifetime, right? So it's clear these are series of identifiable stages, that is step by step, right? We call them as phases here. Roughly if I say the phases are feasibility study, requirement analysis and specification, designing, coding, testing and maintenance. These are broad ones. Actually we have 7 phases, so I'll just add one more here. Say after testing you have implementation phase also, and then comes the maintenance. But broadly, yes, these are the major phases. So what is a feasibility study? As soon as problem comes in, we have to check whether it is feasible or not, that is implementable or not, right? Once you have checked it, requirement analysis and specification says identify what will be the requirements that needs to be implemented in your system, that has to be specified in a document, that is SRS document. This is the most important step. You have to identify the requirement, analyze it, and then specify it. Once you are clear with all the sort of requirements, we go for planning in the designing phase. So design is nothing, just a diagrammatic approach where we represent the system with different viewpoints, right? And it normally represents the plan. How you are going to implement it, not the actual implementation, how you are going to implement it. Requirement analysis was what to implement, how to implement, and coding is actual implementation. Here we are going to implement it in the language specified by the customer. We develop both the front end as well as the back end here. Once you have coded it, then comes the testing phase where we have to test the software with all the requirements that are being mentioned in the SRS document here, which was prepared during the requirements, whether we have executed or implemented all those, whether they are being completely implemented, whether all the quality standards are being fulfilled, right? So everything needs to be tested here. It's also a very important step, the testing. Then implementation is we deploy it to the customer, they start using it, it comes in the operational phase, and once it comes under operational phase and any error comes in or you need any sort of change, then maintenance is called. So this is roughly the stages which a software undergoes. The basic steps will always remain the same while you're developing a software. You have to check the implementation whether it's feasible or not. You'll identify the requirements, you will make a plan, you will implement it, you'll test it, and it will undergo the maintenance in its lifetime several times. So these are the basic stages. Now, if I roughly summarize that what is a software life cycle model, it's a descriptive and diagrammatic representation of software life cycle, right? So descriptive and diagrammatic, that means model is a framework, sort of a block diagram you can say, where we represents the major block, and if required the relevant details are also mentioned. We'll see in the later models how or what does a descriptive means. Diagrammatic is clear. Then identifies all the activities required for a product development, right? So in that case, it's a diagrammatic approach. We identify all the activities like stages or the phases. Establish a precedence ordering among these activities. Precedence ordering means it is in an ordered way. We have arranged it in a particular order. This is the sequence of steps that need to be followed, like in your semester ways. First you will go for first semester, then second semester, then third, then fourth. It's not that पहले आप 8 semester कर लो and at the end you go for first semester. There is a particular order. That sequence has to be maintained. So this is what we are saying. There is an ordering and we have to maintain that precedence amidst the ordering. It's not that you can randomly carry out any of the phase. Then divide life cycle into phases. Okay, fine. Whatever activities you have identified, accordingly you have to arrange them into a particular set of phases. Now in a particular phase, in each life cycle phase, there can be many activities which could be carried out, smaller activities. It's not that you have identified 100 activities, so you'll make 100 phases. No. Say in a software development, we have 7 phases and all the related activities are kept under a single phase, right? Say for example, in the design phase, we carry out structured analysis activities also, And once the structured analysis is over, we carry out structured designing. So these are two distinct activities. Say during the structured analysis we prepare data flow diagram, and during the structured designing we prepare a module dependency graph. So these two are different, but yes, they are related, because a once you draw this data flow diagram, it has to be converted into corresponding structured chart or a module dependency graph, right? So in a particular phase you can have multiple small activities also. Then why do we follow a model? What is the benefit that we will get? Okay, a model, a diagrammatic approach, descriptive means you are writing the specification of it, right? So a written description has several benefits. What are those benefits? It forms a common understanding of activities among the software developers. If everything is verbal, say I am communicating everything verbally, so you're not getting an interest, and not that everything is clear or kept in mind always. But if we do something practically, or we have something in written, so that enforce us, right? If you have anything in written, that enforces us to do it properly, understand it, because you can go through it several times. And in case of a software development, you have multiple team members who are working on a project, so there must be a proper understanding that what is required to be done, how they are going to do it, how they should proceed, and are they proceeding in the correct way or not. So side by side these all activities should be done properly, right, in order to have a successful software development which meets the objective of the software, that is a quality product in less time and less cost. So to have a proper understanding, it must be in a written way, right? It helps in identifying inconsistencies, redundancies, and omissions in the development process. Now, if you have something in written, that is, say, we are assuming here an SRS document. Let's talk about one document, SRS. So, in the SRS document, we have written everything, all the functional requirements, non-functional requirements, and constraints properly, right? So, we know what to implement. That is a common understanding. Everyone knows कि हमें करना क्या है, right? Then it helps in identifying. Now when anything is written, you can easily analyze it whether do we have any inconsistency in that. Inconsistency means, is it complete? Do we have any contradictions here, right? It should be accurate. Redundancy means duplicacy, multiple. Do we have written any requirement multiple times and unnecessary we are going to waste time in that, implementing it twice or thrice or 4 times? So we need to check for those redundancies also. If they are, we have to eliminate it. Omissions, do we have left something, or we have actually identified all the requirements and we have mentioned it here and nothing else is left. It's 100% perfect, but actually it's an ideal case, never happened. And we have seen in the crisis also, requirement gets frozen. How will we try? We are not able to identify those requirements, but later as we move towards designing and coding, when the visibility and understandability of the software increases, then we realize, okay, some more requirements must be there. Then we have to go back and rework on everything. So this is what it helps us. If it is in a written way, then it helps us in identifying these inconsistencies, redundancies, and omissions. Then it helps in tailoring a process model for specific project. Tailoring means moving smoothly from the initial step till the last step. That is a process. Process is a way how a task is being carried out from its initial stage to the final stage. So tailoring, we keep on monitoring it after each and every step properly as per the requirement, whatever is written in the SRS document. So we are going to continuously monitor it. So these are the basic benefits. Apart from that, there are few more benefits. Don't limit yourself to whatever is written in this slide. If I say there is some sort of contradictions or any dispute among the team members, X person is saying no, this should be implemented this way. while the Y person says no, you are wrong, what I'm saying is correct, it must be implemented this way, or this requirement means this, because you can have multiple interpretations also. So in case of any sort of dispute, we refer the document, that is say SRS document. Whatever is written in the document is considered to be full and final. You have to only implement what is written in the SRS document. You don't have to assume on your own. You cannot interpret it on your own. Everything is clearly written and specified that. Now what is written, that is documentation and specification. What is the difference? Say if you are supposed to construct a house, understand it this way. So a generic way is you have to construct a house that is 2 BHK. Fine. While if I say specification, okay, specification is if I want to construct a 2 BHK, first of all, what are the dimensions of the plot? Say how much is the front, how much is the depth. Then if you want a 2 BHK, where you are going to place these two rooms, where you will be placing your hall, where will be your kitchen, with accurate dimensions. You have to effectively utilize that overall area, right? So identify the directions, dimensions and everything, you'll write it. Then where will the gate be placed, right? In the left or in the right? How much will be the size? That means, I mean, a minor details of each and everything which is required needs to be specified. So is the meaning clear? Documentation is in a generic way, you just write it. Okay, fine, 2 BHK. But specification is when you are giving the minor details on each and everything. So this is what documentation we are saying here in software development. We prepare software requirement specification document. That means all the relevant details are being mentioned there. So which helps us in properly monitoring it also. So in case of any dispute, I said, right, or in any misunderstanding, misinterpretation, whatever is written in that document is considered to be full and final. Now the development team must identify a suitable life cycle model. Now though we have several benefits, but we are saying we have to follow a framework also. Why? We must identify a soft model, then we must adhere to it, that means we have to follow it. And the primary advantage of using a particular model is it helps development of a software in a systematic and a disciplined manner. So model is nothing, it's simply a framework. And why do we force to follow a model is because we know what is our software engineering discipline. It enforces a systematic and disciplined way of developing the software. We have seen in the software engineering definition this, that engineering approach is what? Systematic and a disciplined approach of developing the softwares, and that is being forced by this model. If you are not going to follow any model, it won't be systematic and disciplined, because in the model we have series of steps which are being identified and we carry out in a particular order depending upon the model. Say if you have waterfall model, the sequence of step is simple: feasibility study, requirements, designing, coding, testing, implementation, and maintenance. But if I say a spiral model we just have 4 phases and they are being carried out in a form of a spiral. 4 phases are first phase, second phase, third phase, fourth phase. Again repeat, first phase, second phase. It forms a spiral like a jalebi, you can say. You're going to repeat the entire task again and again until and unless the entire software gets completed. So this is what roughly I mean is that basic steps in a software remains the same, but their order or how they are being conducted, that depends upon the model that is being followed, right? Now when a program is developed by a single programmer, he has the freedom to decide his exact step. Fine, that is a dog way, not systematic or disciplined. I know this is the task, I can do it in my own way, right? I don't have to stick to certain rigid phases that needs to be phases. But when a software product is being developed by a team, right, there must be precise understanding among the team members as to when to do what. हमें कब क्या करना है, right? Since it is a very large and a complex project and a single person cannot decide it. Multiple people, like thousands of people are working on a project. So that has to follow a strict regime that is given by the model. Otherwise, it would lead to chaos and project failure, right? So this is what we are trying to avoid by using a phase development approach. A software project will never succeed if one engineer starts writing the code. If you're not going for requirement analysis, designing, planning and everything, and simply you're directly going writing the code, it will definitely fail because you have not clarified the requirements, neither you have prepared the plan, nothing. You directly go and code it. Another concentrates on writing the test document first. Right. Testing, we assume it's after a coding phase which is being carried out. Once you code it, then you go for testing. But actually, the testing starts with the very first phase. When you are preparing an SRS document, you prepare the acceptance criteria or the test cases are being identified or test plans are being prepared during the requirement phase only, right? Yet another engineer first defines the file structure. Another defines the input output for his portion first. That means randomly then they will be carrying out all these activity. It won't be systematic if you're not going to follow a particular model, right? So, but I said it's a systematic approach कि where हम feasibility study will always be the first phase, right? It's not that you start with the coding first, another person starts with the testing, another team member is starting with the input output portion. No, it won't be. You have to be very specific and systematic, right? A life cycle model, another benefit of a life cycle model, it has an entry and exit criteria. Entry and exit criteria means a phase can only start if its previous phase is completed. That is systematic, right? Say if the feasibility study is completed, then only I can start with the requirement analysis. Once the requirement analysis is completed, then only I can start with the designing. It's not that I can start them parallelly. So what is the criteria, exit criteria of the phase? When do we say a phase is completed? When the relevant document of that phase is released. Say if I get the feasibility report, that means feasibility is completed. And this feasibility report will act as an entry criteria for the next phase, that is requirements. So exit criteria is when the report is generated. Entry criteria is when the previous report act as an input to the next phase. So here we have entry and exit criteria and it is strictly followed. A phase is considered to be complete only when all its exit criteria are satisfied, that is document is released. The phase exit criteria for the software requirement specification phase. SRS document is complete, reviewed and approved by the customer. It's not that you only prepare the document and we say it is completed. No. It must be completed. It must be reviewed and approved by the customer. Right? Then only we'll say if the customer accepts it, right? He approves it. Then only we'll say, okay, fine, SRS is completed now. Now we can start with the designing, right? A phase can start only if its phase entry criteria has been specified. Okay, fine. It becomes easier for software project managers to monitor the progress of the project. Now, if you are following a model, now we have series of steps. We are being carried out systematically. Now, what is the task of a project manager is he has to check the progress. Whether are we moving as per the plan and the design task is being completed accurately and properly. So project managers continuously keeps on planning and monitoring the things, right? So after a phase, say document is released, so he can now check the progress. Progress means how much work is completed, how much is left out, how it is being carried out, right? So that is a review which is carried out after each phase. The managers work on this part. Now when a life cycle model is adhered to, अगर हम उसे use कर रहे हैं, then the project manager can in any time fairly accurately tell at which stage of the project is. We are at which phase. He can easily tell. Say he has carried out a review for SRS. Now we are in the designing. So he can tell, okay, feasibility and requirement is completed and we are moving with the design phase. So how much of the work is done? 2 phases are completed. First 2 phases among the 7 phases. 5 are still left. So we can check the progress very easily. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to track the progress of the project. The project manager would have to depend on the guesses of the team members. Okay, this is how much work is being done, but that won't be a standard or a uniform value. This usually leads to a problem known as 99% complete syndrome. We assume that our work is completed, but actually it is not completed. Maybe we are somewhere around early, you can say 60s or 70% only, but it is a misconception. We feel we have completed our work, almost completed, that is 99%, but that not happens actually. Now, we'll be referring to many models in the software development. But the question arises, why so many models? Why not one? When the activities are same, we must follow one model. Why we are having classical waterfall model, then iterative waterfall, evolutionary prototyping, spiral, then we'll be doing RAD model, RUP model, so V&V model. Why so many models? Because the answer to this question is each and every model has a particular application area. We use waterfall model when the requirements are initially well known. If you don't have all the requirements in hand, we can never use waterfall model, it will fail. Right? Prototyping model is used where we have developed the software. Say you are supposed to develop a large and a complex project, but the requirements are not clear. So how you will proceed? If requirements are not clear, the work you do, maybe it leads to failure because maybe requirement says something else which was not clear earlier, but as you proceed, it got clarified and it was something else and we developed something else. So what we do in that case is we prepare a small scale product with limited functionality and dummy functions, and then we check whether it is working properly on a smaller scale. If it is working properly, then we convert it, or based on the requirements we have gathered from that prototype, we develop the actual system. The best example for this is a website. Say in a website you are supposed to develop 10 pages and you develop all the 10 pages and give it to the customer. He doesn't like it. It failed. Right? He doesn't like the look and feel, he doesn't like the font, he doesn't like the placement of images and the navigation links you have given. We refer so many websites. Some are very catchy and understandable, and some are very messy and chaotic, not understandable. Right? So what is the proper approach? Say prototyping model, I am giving an example. If I develop one page only and I show it to the customer, see, not the entire 10 pages, on a small scale, I just develop a single page and give it to the customer for evaluation. He gives me the feedback, no, I want this way, that way, this color, this font and all. So several times I am going to modify that single page as per the customer's feedback. And once the customer is satisfied, he feels okay, fine, this is how I want this page. So I got the requirement from it feedback, what he actually wants. Now from those requirements, I will be developing another 9 pages on the same grounds. Rather than developing all the 10 and giving it to the customer and he rejects it, I just developed on a smaller scale, that is a single page, got it evaluated by the customer, got his feedback and implemented or modified all those changes. And once he is satisfied, then only I proceeded with another 9 pages. So that is prototype. But that can never happen in the case of waterfall model, because waterfall model says develop in a particular sequence only, you don't have any feedback path. Okay? So once you start an activity, it will move straight towards the end. Right? Evolutionary is where the system evolves. We develop the system in increments or in iterations. Like if you're supposed to develop 10 modules, say let's talk about graphical admissions. So we require the entire set of software for graphical, the operation of complete courses and everything. But what will be the evolutionary means increments? Say initially we need an counseling registration software. After registration we require a counseling software module. Then after a counseling module we require an admission module. Then we require is a examination module. After examination I need is a result module. So I don't want all these modules to be delivered at once because it might take years to develop it. I immediately require a registration module because admissions are approaching for a new session. So the customer will ask the developer to develop their registration module only first. In the first iteration only the registration module will be given. Then in the second iteration, now we got 2 months time. Say registration starts in month of March. Then counseling will take somewhere around in May. So I have 2 months. So in the second iteration, I'll be developing the another module. So once the counseling is over, then I require an admission module in the month of August. So I have time now. I can develop the third module in that span. So this is how in increments we will be developing and deploying our system. Then spiral model is something which is used for a risk based project where risk is associated, like aircraft shuttles, right, where you have to carry out risk analysis in a proper detailed manner so that a minor mistake can be eliminated. If you're not eliminating those minor 0.00001 precision is required, so you have to check for that precision also, else it would be fatal. Let's assume an example for the hospital ventilators. If a minor mistake is also there, it could be fatal. It can take the life of a person, right? So when we have risk associated project, then the spiral model is required. So at least you got an idea. If we have certain models, they have certain application areas, right? They have sequence of steps which are being carried out. The ordering might change. Like in a classical model, it is a strictly the rigid phases. In prototyping, you prepare a prototype first, then you develop the actual system. In evolutionary, you develop it into iterations, and spiral model is where we carry out risk analysis in detail. So roughly, this is the basic of your software life cycle models, right? Then we'll start with the models now onwards. If you have any problem, please clear the basics here itself. If this particular slide is not clear to you, I mean as the software lifecycle models, which is representing a phase development approach, the entire thing will be waste if you are proceeding prior to understanding this phase, because कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आएगा आगे चल के कि why we are doing it, why phase development approach, why several methods and everything. So please clear it here in the discussion class. This time I will be talking about these models only, why we are following this. Now quickly summarizing it, what is a software engineering? It's a systematic collection of decades of programming experiences together with the innovations made by the researchers. A fundamental necessity while developing any large software product is adoption of a life cycle model. You have to adopt a model, that is mandatory. Adherence to a life cycle model helps us to do various development activities in a systematic and a disciplined way. Also make it easier to manage a software development effort, time and resources properly, right? So this is why we follow a particular model. So thank you all. Identify your queries, understand it properly. We'll discuss in the next class. Thank you all.